qualities than men because I really like the fact that or the qualities that they brought to the table. And after, like I said, those 37 years, I arrived at the point where I'm now starting a startup as myself being part of a company builder. We're starting a startup which is called Female Force. And Female Force is exactly about redefining female empowerment. Why do I say redefining female empowerment? We're talking about banking, we're talking about the she economy, we're talking about digital finance and digital banking for women. Um, we're talking about a systemic issue here. It's not something that you can eradicate with just one method, with just one tool, with just one angle looking at the issue. We as mankind created that systemic issue, and I'm saying mankind. We created that systemic issue to create a society and systems where women are just underrepresented and in a way suppressed. So I think it's time to really think about changing the narrative here and creating systems that allow female to rise in our society to a level of true equality. And I think that the digital banking thing is it's one part to the equation, but for me, it's still like trying to cure world hunger with a spoon and a plate. That's just a tool on the way of, like I said, solving those systemic issues. What can we do? In my opinion, and I talked to a lot of female leaders in the past. Um, there are two things we really should do. The one thing is to create systems, even on a smaller scale, like companies, for instance, or cities or states or whatever, smaller systems that allow female qualities to coexist, like positively coexist with male qualities, and even allowing the development of those female qualities. I'll give you an example. In Germany, we have the female quotas within the leadership of bigger companies. The problem is, once there are female appointed to the leadership board, they have two options. A, to fight the male dominance there, or to be assimilated by the male. So that means in the end, we need to create those safe spaces where female leaders can not only preserve their female qualities, but to grow them and to change the system that they're into. And the second thing is, and this is a very like, the first thing was like minimum evasive or like on a very individual level. The second one is that we really need to think about what is true empowerment look like. Is it having a bank account? Is it able to consume something? I think it's to provide for yourself and being autonomous in an economy. So when we look at the systemic issues that I'm seeing or that we're seeing at Female Force, it's about education. It's about having a job and being able to secure a job and have a career in a way, and have a true choice about it. So these are the two things that I'm concerned with day in, day out, and why I chose to really start a startup that is about redefining female empowerment, because I think we have a long way to go here, as we had a long way to arrive here. And when we look at our current situation in the world, I think we should give female more space, like women more space in this world, more space to decide, more space to lead, more space to create a better world and to perhaps save humanity on that planet. So I'm all in for empowering women. So whenever you feel like reaching out to me and talking about that, and I'm super happy about it. And I'm just glad to be here today and share my opinion. And I'm really looking forward to the panel discussion. Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Kim. And now let me please introduce our next speaker, who is Klaus Misera. And so Klaus is with his business Chromie International, an advocate for UTech. For the last 20 years, he's living and operating out of the UAE. His focus was on social causes and regular for-profit consulting and advisory services on international scale. Especially close to his heart are programs and initiatives focusing on women entrepreneurship for young businesses and the resilience and growth for established businesses. Programs like Row A, Women Able provide women-only grow paths. Commercially transformation project and especially cultural transformations are key activity domains. Naturally systematic coaching for leaders in and outside organization and beyond is core competence of Klaus. To sustain balance with his variety of activities, Klaus serves as guest lecturer at master level at the University of Applied Management in Germany, Faculty Business of Psychology. He is focused on intercultural and international aspects of organizational psychology, intercultural management, and coaching with a foundation in psychology, such as sociology, neurobiology, and systemic thinking paradigm best describe his area of expertise. So, Klaus, welcome. Before I give you the microphone, I just would like to remind our audience that now you are able to submit your questions through our chat box on the left side, and then we will try to answer your questions during our Q&A session a little bit later. So, Klaus, the floor is yours. You have now the presenter right, so you should be able to share your screen. Just give me a sign if you can share it.
Michaela, thank you very much indeed. And I'm currently working on starting to share my screen, which I hope will lead you to the... Sorry, please speak.
We can see your screen. We can see your screen, Klaus. So if you will select the window.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. On this one here, I can't do that. You know what, Michaela, please, you do the presentation of the slides and I just speak. And as you're starting that up, there's something... Okay. You know, welcome everybody. Thank you for giving us the time and investing time to continue exploring the subjects that we are all truly interested in and that we all, I believe, have quite a bit of lifeblood in. And you may notice that some of the things that Kim mentioned, you may find sound similar on my side. We didn't meet before. We are randomly coming together. And if this is the future chance that two random men can be put into a room sharing that much, then I believe we have a really brilliant future in front of us. Because there's one little thing that I like to say as an opener. Michaela, please just click to the bottom of that page. When I personally hear the word empowering women, I feel a sense of how arrogant can I be? Men have to change their behavior, but not to empower women. Men are used to being bullies. Men are used to jump to conclusions. Men are accustomed to put the elbows out and push people to the side. Now, that is a behavior that we have seen for ages. That can't go on any longer. And that women do not start fighting the way that men seem to have done for way too long a time, I believe that speaks for them and not against them. So if we talk about women have to behave like men, I believe humanity loses. Opening words, please, Michaela, click further to the next slide. And click directly again. I trust you all have seen the Sustainability Development Goals. I have randomly, but not quite randomly, selected some of them. You see gender equality, but gender equality without quality education that actually starts at the youngest ages so that boys learn that girls are equitable human beings and girls learn that there's nothing wrong about being a woman or being a girl. We start way too early to demand biases. And then there's a couple of other things, and for the sake of time, I'm skipping that. One more click, please, Michaela. There's a little difference in opinion when I heard Kim mention that digital banking is not really the hit. There's one element that currently is a major disabler. In way too many countries on this planet, women depend on money being given to them in cash, which includes them traveling through risky territory in remote areas, which limits their ability to make savings, which limits their abilities to make investments. And all of that is important to give women the tools to progress on the path. As I take it, we all know, women, when they earn a living, they invest into their community very differently to what we, to a large extent, see with men. So digital banking will be a stepping stone, and I fully agree it's a stepping stone. It's not the answer. Michaela, please. Next click. And one more. That is what I, as Klaus Misera say, we all together can. And for way too long, we have followed beliefs that the loud ones, the domineering ones, the single-minded ones that rush into action before sensing and thinking should be allowed to determine our fates in economy and politics. And I believe the last couple of years were plenty filled with examples. So I believe we all can do so much better. So please click one more. That is a selection of women. Some of them I know, some of them I know in person. And if you look around, you hopefully might recognize there's politicians, there's highly capable technical people. There's a lady in the left column, second from the top, with an orange t-shirt. That's Jane from China. Her company is Shellpay. She is one of the leading Chinese entrepreneurs in the domain of blockchain. These people exist and she is out there for years. But it's very hard to know about people like her if you just follow public domain information channels. Then I'm not going through all the complete list by no means. But there's another lady, and that's the one in the middle on the top row. That's Heather Hennion. Her company is called Mindshift Capital. She's ex-Wall Street. And she has started investment companies specifically focusing on investing into women, as that's one of the real big issues. When you look at the latest statistics, it is still a shame how few VCs invest into women ventures. Those things have changed. But then these women are out there across the board and not only since yesterday. So please, Michaela, let's go on. That I personally found a very interesting, remarkable article, so I share it with you, not in detail. Harvard Business Review in 2009 published an article that was based on research from Boston Consultancy Group. It highlighted the importance of women to the economy. For what reason? I give you a short second. Think for yourself. What's the reason why women are important to the economy? Please click, Michaela. As consumers, they represent a huge purchasing power. I mean, please take that in for a short moment. If that is the way how we look at women, they go grocery shopping and fashion shopping, then sorry, you didn't ever look with respect at the woman. So this page here, I hope, is something that everybody here, at least in our session today, knows about the enormous power. And I use the word power and not energy. It is strength and energy. Hence, I use the word power, intelligence and heart that women have, and how humanity will thrive when women and men work together as partners, where women are, please click, on equitable terms in all dimensions of life, society, science, art, and economy. It's not just we need more women in MINT or in STEM or in STEAM. You know, these buzzwords are temporarily aid, but they're not the answer neither. We really need women across all dimensions of life, as leaders, as innovators, as explorers, as contributors. as supporters, fill in whatever you like. That is what I wish for you and all of us, that our panel discussion today can highlight more what you and we all can do individually and together. And I believe that should have been the last slide, Michaela. Thank you very much indeed for your attention.
Thank you very much, Klaus, for this amazing and very inspiring keynote speech. And I'm really looking forward to our panel discussion. So please let me introduce our next speaker. And our next speaker is Christy. Christy Zhao. 1 second. Christy, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us more about your projects?
Sure thing. Thank you, Michaela, and thank you, Klaus and Kim, to show us like the broader perspective. I think for my presentation, I'm going to dig down to a little bit different. So my presentation is mainly focused on China and how Xi economy is rising in China, as well as the digital banking. But prior to my presentation, here's a little information about myself. I run a consultant agency. Actually, I can just show the slides because my slides do have the information about myself. Let me just share my screen now. Do you see? Do you see my slides?
Now we should be able to see. Now we can start sharing one more time, Christy.
No,
Give you the right.
Okay. Can you see now? Can you see it now?
We cannot see. Not yet. Okay, now it's loading.
Good.
Yeah. You can see your screen. Amazing.
Great. After all the technology troubleshooting, here's a little information about us. I run a company named Rizal. So basically, we founded back in 2018. We're a team of communication experts based in Beijing. We basically help the global enterprises to understand the China ecosystem. So what we do is we help overseas firms to come to China, to enter China, as well as to help the Chinese company to expand overseas. In terms of the industry that we're focusing on, as listed here, it's a semiconductor, artificial intelligence, robotic, autonomous vehicle, and renewable energy. As you can see, I am working surrounded in a very masculine world. So this is the kind of the services that we provide, basically divided into 3 sections. One is consulting, the other one is digital and public relations. We really focus on to share the firsthand information about this market from the industry perspective and from the micro perspective. We basically help all of the clients to identify the right strategy for this market. Aside from those services, we also we also have a social responsibility course. So what we do is we help the local NGOs and charities and tech communities to improve their communication strategy and get media exposures. So here is the partner and supporter that we work with. So we basically work with a lot of embassies and chambers. Since we're based in Beijing, we need to utilize that resource. And also I'm a mentor for different tech community just to really encourage the startup community to ease into the China market. We also work with a lot of business media and also investment firms as well. And here is a dive into the female economy and digital banking here in China. So in this slide, basically you can see this is the amount of active users that we have in China. So as probably you heard this phrase, women hold up half the sky, said by a former Chinese leader Mao. More than 50 years on, women here in China are doing so online, driving digital trends and fast becoming a cohort for the marketers that can't ignore. Just that the monthly active female user here in China have a steady growth based on the chart you can see on the left. And the majority of those women users are mobile internet users. And the second one, as you can see, we spend a lot of time online. And thanks to 5G, we could enjoy the world through our fingertips. Not to mention, we will be the main driver of expected $5.3 trillion boom in consumer spending over the next decade. Because we spend a lot of time online to go through different things, and then we walk into here, as you can see, where we go to and how we're shifting our purchasing power. So China have more than 400 million female consumer aged 20 to 60, and then they accounted for more than 10 trillion yuan, roughly $1.58 trillion worth of consumption every year. This would make Chinese female customers collectively the third largest consumer market in the world. In families, women are often in charge of financial decisions and purchases. So majority of the purchasing is done by women here in China. And so as you can see, the next slides, I'm pretty much going to go into the super app that you're going to hear about, which is WeChat. So what do we do majority of the things through WeChat. And here it is, as you can see on this. Instant messaging was the most important app category among females in China who use mobile internet every month, followed by retail, VOD. VOD is video on demand, short video, maps, and payment. Banking apps ranks 10th, used by more than 40% of users. WeChat remains the social network of choice among women here. 85.9% of the female mobile internet user visit WeChat mini program, you might know it as the super app. So China has become the social commerce destination, enabling user to not only shop through brands mini program, but also exchange messages and share content with brands as we could with friends and family. So we spend majority, I don't know if you guys heard about the mini program on WeChat. It's basically a super app. You can do your utility, you can do your daily shopping, you can browse through fashion, cosmetics, or home-based workout equipment. You can pretty much do everything within the mini program. So we call it the super app. And then here, it's some of the trends that we consolidated into as the She economy trends. So the first one is the She power. During this year's Winter Olympic, female athletes represented by Eileen Gu has made enormous gain. Under the sports boom driven by the Olympics, a sports brand have greatly increased their advertising with more and more female athletes being selected as a sports brand ambassador. And second one we gathered is the She sharing. Female users have preference for influencers in various fields, and those influencers have become an important source of content in education and the fashion industry, also brand recommendations. The last one is She spend. Data from different reports revealed that the number of women who plan to buy a car has reached 33.37 million, and an increase of 26.1% compared to last year. I know for a fact that Porsche China woke up with the smell every day during the past 2 years because majority of their car here in China is customized for women. So women have become an increasingly important force among car buyers. So aside from all this, we also see a growth in the gaming industry. So mobile gaming is more popular among women than men. the proportion of women in mobile gaming, such as Harry Potter, I don't know if you guys heard of it, it's very popular in China, has been outstanding in the past 6 months. And the market increase from female players should not be underestimated. So basically, the ecosystem for She Economy and digital banking is the ecosystem here in China. We never really talk about She Economy and digital banking in a separate sector. It's always combined into a whole thing because we've done everything online. So I think that pretty much summarize some of the information that I'm going to share. And I guess I will close sharing and talk to you guys soon.
Thank you very much, Christy, for this very interesting presentation and sharing with us, let's say, the situation in China. You can stop sharing your screen. A second. Just please click to stop sharing your screen. Amazing. So now let us please start with the panel discussion. I'm really looking forward. So let me start by asking Klaus. Klaus, what do you see as key difference between a female feminine economy and the currently existing economies?
So you want me to answer the question myself rather than leaving it open for the panel to look into that, yeah? Do I understand it correctly?
Like even you can start, and then I'm sure that Kirsty or Kim will add something from their, let's say, point of view. But if you would like to start, then you can start.
I'm happy to. For those of you who never met me before, I have a tendency to bring things onto a tipping point that for some people sometimes may appear surprising. In today's global economy, we have a masculine-dominated belief that growth at all costs is what we need. Without any regard to what the actual needs are, we drive campaigns and product developments to increase consumption, knowing, and you may remember on the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, there is an element about production and consumption. We do not put into perspective that an increase in consumption per se is not a good thing, that this is something we have to start looking at. And my belief is, in an economy where women have their equitable participation, we will finally come to recognize that there's a big, big difference between quality and quantity. And quantity cannot substitute for quality. And that is a little bit of what I see happen in a primarily male-dominated economy. So my starting point is, with women, we become more humane and have a more sustainable economical development.
Thank you very much. Kim, Christy, would you like to add something?
This was a drop statement.
Okay.
I might add just one or two sentences. That I was talking about this whole. But when I hear growth, I always get goosebumps, but not the good ones, because I always tell people, like, yeah, cancer can also grow. You know that it's about direct. Yeah.
Okay, I can. Sorry, yeah. Okay. I can see that we have received here from Henning one question. So his question is, especially to Christy, do you see cultural differences in the roles of men and women in society and their results in position and economy?
Do I see a cultural difference between men and women? I think, I don't know if you guys know this, in China, we divide it into different tiers of cities. So we have the super mega cities, and then the first tier, second tier, and third tier. So I think within the top tiers of city, which is much more modernized, women or men are pretty equalized now. It really depends on which field you are. Some of the women get higher pay than men. Some of them men sort of get higher pay than women. So I don't really see a shift between roles. I think as especially for millennials in a society nowadays, I think between a man and a woman and a houseworker are pretty equal. They get equal paid. So I think it's pretty equalized here. That's what you're asking.
Okay, thank you very much, Christy. Klaus, you are based in Dubai. Do you see there any, let's say, cultural differences if you compare it, for example, to Germany?
The simple answer is yes. How many hours of time do you give me to explain using examples? The concept is simple. In any society, there are rules that are written by law and they are enforced by, let's say, government monitored activities. And then there's what people do. And what people do is not always what the rules say. What people do is what they feel is right, or what they don't do is what they feel is wrong. And that they have learned from a very early stage on. There's a couple of stages that we go through in life, but I'm not a friend of promoting stage thinking. It basically is, culture is what I do is influenced by the culture I'm in, and by what I'm doing, I'm influencing the culture. So it's a continuous feedback loop within which we create a culture as we live it. That changes us, that changes our environment. So rules are, in systemic terms, a disturbance of the system, but they don't control anything. What really happens is what people feel is right. And that's a matter of being used to, it's a matter of being accustomed to something. And clearly governments like to think that rules determine what people do. As Michaela, as you touch on comparison to Germany, I believe in Germany, as much as in the UAE, it is not allowed to drive a car and having a mobile phone in your hand. How many times a day do you see it? I believe this is hopefully giving an idea. The belief in rules is good because I hope it supports a certain order, but fundamentally how humans behave is driven by different factors and only influenced by rules. And yes, the differences are so huge, as the UAE and Berlin may have more in common than Germany and as such as a country and the UAE, because a number of different nationalities that come together in a very small area. And that creates an interesting experiment here. And so far, I believe that's a remarkable thing. There's a lot of mindset and spirit that comes from the government here that positively influences the mindset of the people that live here. But that doesn't take away that there are moments where you can clearly see a woman has a different standing.
I completely agree with you, Klaus. And I see Beatrice wanted to add something as well.
Well, I see. I would say here in Germany we can. For me, my part, I cannot see any difference between men and women in the technical use of, for instance, social media and something like that. It is equal. I cannot feel something like we have to be allowed. But Klaus said something very interesting about the rules. The rules changed also. In former times, rules were clearly, even the heritage rules, if you inherit a company of your family, inherit something of this, was completely driven to male followers and male followers and the male were in front of it. This is now, I think that they changed it to an equal status. The rules are very important. In the end, it is true that what Klaus said, are they really followed? But they are followed more intuitive, yes. But in the end, it counts what the rule is. If it's a very strange thing, if it's a very earnest thing. And I think they changed it now, fortunately, because I had to learn it while my father was dead, and I saw all the contracts and all the things, and I thought, oh, I'm a woman. This was the first time in my life I realized that it was different to a man. I'm sorry, I have to add this.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. I can see we have one more question from Henning. So diversity is leading to better solutions. What do you think, Klaus? I know you're maybe typing the answer. Do you think diversity is leading to better solution? And what is diversity? Maybe we should define, let's say, because we are talking about culture, we are talking about diversity. I think it's very important to clarify and say, okay, what is the definition for us of the culture and diversity, cultural standards?
Michaela, I hear my name, and yes, you were right. I started already typing, but I was aiming at typing a shorter answer. And I would like to avoid us getting into how to define diversity, as there's so many domains of interest on the subject of diversity that this can highly dilute the discussion. While what I believe we are looking at is diversity is different ways of thinking, feeling, acting, knowing, behaving. All these are factors that contribute. And the most important one, in my personal view, when we're talking about way forward, we need diversity in thinking styles. And we need to develop something that currently seems to be the scarcest resource on that planet, which is having a way to consider two opposing thoughts without fighting each other. Difference in opinion, difference in coming from a diverse background says something is different. And if I can't stand somebody else to be different to me, if I then feel threatened, then I start to defend. The moment I defend, my brain shuts down. I start attacking, defending, somebody else feels counterattacked. So we are all of a sudden running in the fear cycle. None of that creates free thinking. So the concept that usually is important to very young age, I see something, I don't know what it means, I cannot judge it, I cannot categorize it, but I can accept that it is out there and different to what I feel. That is the most important element together with diversity. And if we as humans share common intention, we want to do good for humans, not I want to pile more wealth than you have. The latter one doesn't help. The first one helps. Then we can actually make it happen. But we need to find ways to make decisions in highly opposing, opinionated environments, by letting go of being opinionated, but by exploring. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Klaus. And I see Kim is agree with you, or would you like to add?
Brother from another mother, I guess. Yeah, it's. I think what Klaus just said is changing the narrative from ego to eco. Like we it's not about the one person in the room, and it's not about the opinion of one person in the room. It's what's best for humanity. If it's climate change, the climate is changing because we as humanity do something bad. So we as humanity need to take a step back, look at each other and say, like, what can we do for humanity? It's the same thing with diversity. It's the same thing with female empowerment. All those buzzwords they're just nice, but when we really look at the larger scale, then it becomes very obvious that the true, and it's, for me, it's not about equality, but being equal doesn't mean, it's about freedom of choice. It's about real freedom of choice that we have to provide for everyone on this planet, and then we as humanity have a better chance of surviving what we've just done, what men just did. And when it comes to politics, and I just wanted to touch on that point too, politics will only jump on the bandwagon once there is success. So we cannot count on politics to change the rules, change the systems, to make them better. We only can, as members of the society, successful systems on a smaller scale where politics can say, like, oh, this is intriguing. I could make use of it and just give it more space, give it more like room for growth, room for development in a way, not growth per se, but room for development and more impact. So I would really go out there and say, like, it's not about changing systems from the top. It's about empowering from the bottom and being able to create something, being entrepreneurial. Every one of us being entrepreneurial about the systemic issues we see, and then I think we can really move the needle in the right direction.
Amazing. Christy, Beatrice, would you like to add something? Otherwise, we cannot hear you, Beatrice.
I wanted to give this question to Christine.
I think they pretty much summarized.
Yeah.
What do we want to say?
It's true.
Amazing. Okay, then I see we have a few more questions, so let's just continue. From Virginia. So her question is, good morning. Thank you for your intervention. According to your feeling, do you consider that the role of women is changing in access to finance? Which regions have more opportunities for women according to your experience? What do you think about the possibilities in the new digital economy in the role of women? So we have more questions at the same time, so maybe we can try to answer it one by one. So the first question is, according to your feeling, do you consider that the role of women is changing in access to finance? Christy, maybe you as women, how do you see the role changing of us?
I actually don't really understand the question. Do I considering the role of women is changing in access to finance? For me, I don't think I've been treated differently as a woman when if you're talking about if you go to a professional work access loan from the bank or I spend on a personal level, I don't feel the difference. Maybe I'm not the good person to answer this question. I don't know.
No, it's fine. I think I'm not sure, but how I understand the question is maybe if observe the past. So in the past, the woman was staying at home with the children, so she didn't have like her own finance. She got the finance from her husband. Maybe I don't know how is it in China right now, but maybe in the past the woman was not working, so she was not able to get a loan to buy something by herself. The role is changing. If you see any development, of course there is some development. The same in Germany and Europe. Beatrice, I will say, let's say the role of women is changing, and access to finance, I think, what is a little bit the difference. Since the Second World War, when the women were, let's say, were forced, or even the First World War, forced to go to the factories and start working because their husbands were fighting somewhere. So it really changed the whole role of the women. We can see that, for example, even in fashion. When you look at Coco Chanel, how she changed. Let's say she was the revolutionary who came and said, okay, now it's end to be wearing big skirts and the dresses because it was dangerous. So everything has changed, and I think now we can see the development that in many countries, even Beatrice is working, I know, in different projects, even in Africa, to empower the women to start their businesses. And I think this is maybe meant with this question, that the women has the opportunity to go to start working. She's free. She can decide, okay, now I don't have to get married by age of 18, 20, but I can start my own business. Then you will receive money, you will earn money, and then you can invest it free. You don't have to give it, for example, to your husband, what would be expected like in the past, or maybe even nowadays in some cultures.
I can't
Maybe
really
Beatrice.
speak for all women in China, but I can definitely speak for my generation, which is the millennials. We call it the modern generation now. So we feel pretty lucky, and we're pretty spoiled with the society now we're living right now. we experience not true, but somewhat gender equality here. Whether it's through professional life or through a personal life, I'm pretty sure there are different things that is happening in the rural area. But because I would say this to be very to state out the difference is during this COVID, there's a lot of women return to their hometown village from the city. So what they do is because of the COVID, so you can't really go out. Everyone is relying on live streaming and online shopping to make a living. So majority of the women start their own online shop and online store to promote their hometown products. So I think that's one way they see the opportunity through our very bad situation. And the majority of those women are not well educated. They're just educated. They're not well educated. I think they see opportunities. I think the women in China are very optimistic about life. So we see opportunities in different situations and different scenarios. You just have to make it happen. So now the whole live streaming in China, it's such a booming industry, and everyone wanted to be an influencer nowadays to sell products, to promote their hometown, to promote their village, the life of living. So I think it really depends on how you see the situation. But based on my generation right now, things are looking pretty positive from my point of view.
I think you, Beatrice.
Yeah, you were right, and Christy is also right. But we have to see it in a different angle. Germany is, as you really said, the war was a moment where the women were empowered, not by men, but by the situation. The women had to do this job, yes, and they grow with this job, and they were working in Germany as men to grow up the cities again. We know of the name of Trümmerfrauen and something like that. Women grow with the situation. Then the second part was the revolution in the 60s, where women get the freedom to choose, what they want to learn, what they want to do. This was the second step in this case. So also women get access to the financial possibilities. This happened in Germany. But it is very important to see this from the African view also. There it is not yet at this level as Christy described from China, because this is the level we want to reach with our projects, for instance, that women can also work from at home with their digital devices, with their laptops, and found their own companies, sell their own products, and do things like that, especially in the rural areas. This is very important, and I think this is a thing we have to drive forward, because this is the right way to development and to the women to get access to all the possibilities that they can have.
I can see Kim, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I think Beatrice, you raised an important topic here. It's work, as in a more defining work in a way, which is also kind of the systemic issue behind what we're all talking about. My profile says new work evangelist, because I'm a big fan of Friedrich New Work, an Austrian American philosopher. And he basically said that the biggest issue that we have in our current system is the definition of jobs. Paid for and things you're not paid for. Everything we do in life is work. So everything women do right now, even if they don't have a job, is work. The problem is it isn't paid, and it isn't socially accepted as a job. So when I tell my wife about me staying at home, being a full-time dad, and she pursuing her career, we're really talking about this whole narrative about like really freedom of choice within our tiny little system as a family. There still is this notion of, yeah, I have to pursue a career in order to do something valuable. Now I always tell her, like, you can do whatever you want, literally, but as I see it, everything that I do at the moment, me as Kim, is just cleaning up the shit that we did in the past. This is why I have startups. This is why I want to reinvent certain systems because we screwed up. Parenting, for instance, is a much more valuable work because we're actively like influencing the future by educating, by empowering our children to be better people than even we are. So I'm not like an advocate for stay at home, be moms, be dads. I'm just saying like we should raise the awareness of and have equal pay for every work there is out there, and not just the jobs we define, because these are the limiting factors in a way. So I think this is just my take on the whole what we need to do in order to really make it work. And let me close with this one quote from a German philosopher Adorno, who says there is no right life in the wrong. And he really talks about systemic issues as well, that we can have models, we can have tools, we can have initiatives. They will all be consumed by this existing system on a larger scale, because Beatrice, I think you touched it, and Klaus as well, that the rules, the laws, everything was made by men. So it's always a male-dominated system, however we look at it. So if there is not true equality in terms of the rule makers and the lawmakers and the laws that are renewed or perhaps even newly created in a way, then the system will always be biased in a way. And yeah, I think that is just me being a system thinker and really not believing in those tiny little interventions that we all talk about. But surely these are stepping stones, and we need to think about a lot of stepping stones in order to create a stairwell to, you know, to a better world in a way.
Thank you very much, Kim. And I can see that Klaus raised his hand. Klaus.
I like to support with a quote where I do not remember who the original author was. And in English, it might sound a bit awkward. It's called The Normative Forces of the Factual. Die normative Kraft des Faktischen, for the German-speaking amongst us. Whatever we talk about, and I'm very, very much with Kim in regard to the systemic underlying structures and issues, as long as we do not look into the power distribution, who holds power, how much do elected governments have power that can stand up against the accumulation of capital in the hands of a few. We may have the best of all initiatives and women and men come together, but if at the very end we are short of money, so-called economical forces pressure us into succumbing to something that's very, very traditional, we are not progressing. So this question overall has very wide-reaching implications, and I respect very much that not everybody would want to have such a discussion now. I like to park it as a theme for future discussion. And I like to add something, as the word culture showed up a couple of times. And I think, Kim, you have in a certain way addressed culture as if the environment within which we grow up was dominated by masculine, excessive masculine values, then even the women in that society will have a preference for those masculine values, which then says there is a wonderful human being a woman, who is handicapped by her cultural upbringing, as it will take a lot of liberation work for her to actually identify those domains that are not truly hers, that are a reflection of her where she grew up. And another element in this domain that for the culturally interested is a highly interesting aspect. In China, and Christy, I know I'm not Chinese, so forgive me if what I say doesn't resonate with you, but it is my understanding that in China, you still have values and cultural principles that come from Confucianism. And Confucianism has a different approach to how to look at society and how to look at individualistic interests versus collectivistic interests. In Germany, we are not as strongly individualistic as the US is, but we are very individualistic. And a couple of things in Germany, I would feel tempted to ask, If we ask 100,000 people in China what their belief or trust in the government is, and we do the same thing in Germany, I feel tempted to believe that in China, the people have a more positive view towards the government than in Germany. And
Is
that
this a
in
question
itself,
for me?
I mean, please feel free to take it either way. I'm raising the concept that individualistic versus collectivistic societies. Look at the wealth distribution on the planet. China is doing an extraordinary job by developing an economy and thereby, if you like, a collective wealth system. But there are other rather collectivistic society environments where that's not the case. So there's differences in China compared to, let's say, Brazil or other Southern American countries. So the point I'm aiming at is the underlying discussion goes much deeper and further than our starting point of female economy. And please, Chrissy, I'm very happy to listen to you.
No, I think you're right. We definitely, in the current society, if you go to elementary school, even from kindergarten, we still learn from Confucians and then some of the words that he's saying. So we need to understand we're not only individuals, but we also act as a community. We need to think as a community, as a tribe. So, so I think you're very much right on that point.
Thank you.
I think, Klaus, and now you mentioned very interesting and very important, let's say, topic, that the type of culture, it is collectivistic or individualistic. And I think this is very, let's say, difficult now to change because this is development of thousands of years, let's say, in the society. Now, I think we should talk about the problem or about the concept of cultural standards, because in general, what the concept says is that the cultural standards are very specific, and this is, let's say, what works in that specific culture. So I think even now when we're talking about female and she economy, this is, let's say, what has been developed in that specific country. And I think even for China, what they are using, this is something, let's say, or the cultural standards that are now working for them. And it's not easy to change it within, let's say, a few days. Because this, let's say, insight into people, we are raised with these ideas. The same in Germany. In Germany or in Europe, we are raised, okay, now we are the individuals. It's very important that you have your ideas and you should take care about yourself. China is a little bit different. So I think, first of all, when we are talking about this topic, we should think about the cultural standards and maybe try to compare it as well to see the real differences. And then we will maybe understand better even the mentality, why to go really one level deeper talking about this topic. But yeah, let us maybe continue because there are more questions. So the next question of Virginia was, which regions have more opportunities for women according to your experience? So who would like to start? Maybe Klaus, you are now in different countries. Maybe you would like to share with us your opinion.
I find that an enormously loaded question. And I would feel, I mean, of course, I feel tempted to give some form of an answer, which I will do in a moment. But before I do, some disclaimers. It's incredibly hard to know what the reality is like. I know that in London, a fund was started that is primarily aiming at eliminating the investment gap between masculine investees and feminine investees. And I know the person who has initiated that. I know who he's working with. Surprisingly, it's a man plus a woman. But the initiator, a man. But the beauty is there's collaboration. As I mentioned in my brief intro, Heather, who is back in the US, who from a get-go here in the UAE, she started with a Women Angel Investor Network as she wanted to build. There's quite a few women with money here. And she was working towards raising the investor profile of these women who hold significant funds. As women investing apply different criteria than men do. So that was one way to go there. The other is, and that's now with Mindshift Capital, there are a couple of other funds that she's involved with. She is a person who drives across regions where she's active. Investment from women into women businesses. So I would say there's quite a bit of really strong support here. At the same time, if you look at when the big guns come from the US and other places into the UAE, because they see there's such a lively startup scene here, you are again exposed to the masculine dominated stereotypical investment behavior. I have had startups I've been working with who were grilled by Silicon Valley guys in a way that was disrespectful and stupid, but these guys had the money. So all of that happens in this region here, specifically in Dubai. Some of it happens in the UK where good stuff is happening. Some of it happens in the US. Do I know what the current situation is across the majority of African countries? I have some limited insights, but from my work with African entities, I know there's a lot of great minds, there's a lot of great energy, but fundamentally, when it is about finding funds to make it happen, you end up in the same dead-end streets as before. So there's a lot of talk and there's relatively little walk. Overall, I still believe if you compare where we are today to 20 years ago, yes, overall, there's a progress. Out and over.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Don't have that much time, so I will suggest we can, let's say, continue with the next question because this is a very important and big topic. So we have here the next question from Iqbal. Thank you for the good presentation. A lot of your programs and interventions are focusing on women's empowerment. However, second, sorry, it got closed. Don't see it. Empowerment. However, the social norms have a big influence on women's ability to access resources in many vulnerable communities. Pandemic has also impacted women's access. Also, it should be considered an opportunity. Do you think the pandemic has also made changes in inaccessibility? Is the inequality become high after the pandemic? Yeah, Kim.
May I add something here? My point of view, the pandemic worked as a kind of a truth serum, in a way, for what is already there. It was like accelerated. So whenever there is equality in a system, the pandemic like increased the inequality. Wherever there was positive influences, the pandemic also increased those positive influences. So I think wherever it was bad, it's now worse. Wherever it was kind of better, it could have been better. So in a way, I think overall, as we live in an unequal world, the pandemic has raised the inequality worldwide. What do the others think?
Christy, you are now living in China. What do you think? Because I think China was really hit by pandemic.
I think China is so different. I actually think that pandemic is actually that it acts as an accelerator for some of the gender equality moves. For instance, for some of the women previously, they have a job, they just for the sake of working, however, they don't really like it. Because of the pandemic, they lost their job. So what they do, they become an entrepreneur. They start to doing something by themselves. So during this time, they actually took this time to think it through, what they would like to do, what kind of things they're interested in. It's much more of doing things that will please me, doing things that I will only like or love to do moving forward. So I think in China for the past 2.5 years, you can actually see a lot of female entrepreneurs, not only in a sort of a female sector, which is the fashion and cosmetics or food and beverage, but also in a very high tech area. Here in Beijing, I know a lot of female founders that are in a semiconductor industry as well as the artificial industry They started during 2019, and then after pandemic hit, they started to work on a product that they really wanted to do. They started their own company. So, now they're listed companies in the past 2.5 years. So they've done a good job. I think pandemic here in China, I can only speak for a small amount of people that I know for myself, act as an accelerator to move forward or to take that big leap, the leap that they always have to do in their life, which is a very positive thing, I would say. But of course, there's other cases in a different area as well.
Thank you very much, Christy, and maybe Beatrice. I know you have projects in Africa.
Yeah, I would I want to add, yes, Mike and my companion, I'm working together. We founded our company also in these times of the pandemic, and we are both women. And okay, we were in this business separate, of course, yeah, before. But it is I think it is a question of the personal attitude. Do something in a difficult time, move forward, or say, oh God, the world is breaking down, and do nothing. Yeah, but it's not a question of differing between men and women in Germany. I don't think so, because I saw a lot of men thinking, oh, life is the end because of the pandemic, as well as women. Yeah, but some try to do something, and they were successful very often because they woke up to their own strengths. Yeah. So I don't think in Germany it is really a question of this case. In Africa, I don't know. I have a couple that I care for. It's a boy and a woman. A woman. What I realized the last time, she said she has no access to the bank account. It's doing her brother. This is something I have to research now. But in the end, she's doing the cakes, the business, the restaurant. The boy is doing the delivery service and the driving service for the markets. It is. I don't have even there. I don't have an image that is unequal. But this is this certain example. It can be quite different. As I heard from Dr. Ikechi, it is really that the way that the women are really dependent on their husbands in the male world in the majority of the African society. So this is different there, it seems.
I wanted to add something.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. Oh.
Sorry. I wanted to add something real quick. Is I think here also what we're seeing here in China is we have a lot of women supporting groups that during this pandemic, I think it's very important not just to have a great husband, have great friends that is surrounded to be positive and supporting towards what you're doing, but at the same time to find the right community that you belong to, whether it's a women-focused community or a cross-gender community, just to have that right support. Ignore all the negative voices that you hear in your head or you hear from others. I think you just need to truly really believe in what you do, and you can always find the right thing to do. So for the past 2 years, so there's a lot of women supporting groups here in China that is rising. So it's not only about tech, it's always also about mental health support. It's always about a different kind of support that you need to do. So I think supporting groups is very important as well.
Thank you very much, Christy. Klaus?
I like to add a layer of complexity to that. I mean, on a human level, I agree to everything that is being said about, let's say, social solidarity support circles. That's, by the way, one term that we use here occasionally. But when you want to go to a bank, as you want to start a business, and the local laws mandate that you have a bank account with a local bank, and the local bank mandates that a woman needs either the signature of the father or the brother or the husband, then a lot of what we just said isn't so applicable. Now, if you go around countries and the region here, I mean, we are from Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Pakistan, India, then you come kind of to the UAE and Oman. you will have no two countries that have the same rules. And I believe it was, Henning asked the question about urban versus rural. Sometimes things can be done within the city environments that are impossible to do in the rural areas. All these factors have a strong influence. And when we share our own experiences, I believe, Beatrice, you said it beautifully, from a context Germany, this is fair to say. Christy, when you speak about China, you set a context where that is fair to say. But the moment Michaela and I sit here together and say, hey, well, how does that look like if you drive 500 kilometers left, right, north, or up, down? It will be very difficult to say that's a commonality among those countries. And I think, Henning, your question, maybe that is the next one, Michaela, that you want to pick up on, where he brings in the element of democracy. I mean, constitutional rights, having protection of your rights to freedom, that can look very different across all countries. And being careful where I sit, not everything that applies yesterday will be enforced today, but maybe tomorrow. And that is in the region where Michaela and I usually spend a bit of time. That's the other element. Culture has different layers in the sense of the visible thing, the law level, if you like, and the true underlying, which takes us back to who has the power at the end of the day. Then sometimes laws do not apply the same way as they would, let's say, in Germany. I still believe in Germany, kind of. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Klaus. And I think we should continue our discussion during our networking group next week, because there are really different, other different, very important aspects. And I think democracy is one of the very important topics. So, and now I would like to ask you, all of the panelists, to make a final statement, a short summary or recommendation to our audience. So I can see the first one on my screen, Christy. 30 seconds, please. Short statement.
Seconds. What should I say in 30 seconds? I guess as a woman, you just need to look inside of your heart and find what you truly love, and don't hear any noise aside from believe in yourself and find the right supporting group. Even though now it's a very difficult time during the pandemic, but there's also opportunities lying in different crises. So just believe in yourself, I guess.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Christy. Beatrice.
Yes, I think Christy is right. Believe in yourself is the very first and important thing you should do. And also be active. If you like something, try it. Don't be afraid of trying things other people say you can't do or you will not do. And important is also the support of family and friends, and be a woman nevertheless. Try to fight as a man, but be a woman nevertheless.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. Kim?
That's a tough one. I think I like the quote of Mahatma Gandhi the most: "Be the change you want to see in the world." And I'm talking to the male here. I think when the ones that are talking about female empowerment and this hierarchical view on it, be the ones in the room that take a step back, be the ones in the room that let other opinions stay there and not attack, but not compete, but try to collaborate wherever you can. And then true female behavior has a chance to save humanity, I guess.
Michaela, you're quiet. You're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I want to say, Klaus, you last but not least. Please, your statement.
Okay. I like to connect to Christy. Listen to your heart. and I believe any human being who has the ability to listen to their heart cannot act the way we as a collective have acted for the last 5,000 years. So listen to your heart, be true to yourself, but please don't believe to be right. Consider the possibility that somebody else has something to consider that you didn't yet. That's it.
Thank you very much, Klaus. And before we go, please let me hand over the microphone to my colleague Benedikt Grütz, the Vice President of European Senate and the Director of Germany Alliance.
Yeah, Michaela, thank you very much.
The phone is yours. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I catch that. Thank you, Michaela, very much for having me. My name is Benedikt Grütz. As you already said, Michaela, I'm Vice President of the European Senate of Economy and Technology. And on behalf of EU Tech and the Senate, I'm happy to present a little gift to you, dear panelists, today. As you might have heard at the beginning of the webinar, the EU Tech is one of the world's leading tech network, united by this vision technology obliges. And we started in Europe in 2015 to unite European enterprises behind this vision and to help them to reach competitiveness, growth, and sustainability. You remember our three major goals. And the Senate of Economy and Technology is like an exclusive advisory board of this network. And as you can imagine, both organizations are very active in the topic sustainability and climate action. And therefore, we built up this climate action partnership. I would like to thank you on behalf of EU Tech and the Presidium of the European Senate for your contribution to today's event. We really appreciate it. And here we are. Here are the tree certificates. Herewith, the European Technology Chamber confirms that a tree for Christy, a tree for Klaus, and a tree for Kim has been planted in Africa by EU Tech Climate Action Partnership. So thank you very much. Congratulations. Again, we really appreciate this Panel Women in Tech Alliance. I think you spoke about a lot of good points to discuss about further in one of our working group meeting, as Michaela said. And now it's 10:30. That was my short time, our little gift, the tree certificates. So have a great time. Thank you very much for being our guest today. And for the honor of the last words, back to you, Michaela. I think there's a photo missing, right?
Exactly. I would like to ask you if you're gonna take very shortly a picture. So please smile. One more. Okay, amazing. Thank you very much. And it's been a really great pleasure having you, Klaus, Kim, Christy, and Beatrice here. Beatrice, I listened that you have a birthday today. So happy birthday. Thank you very much.
Happy birthday.
Spending your time with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was nice to start birthday with you. It was nice to start my birthday with you.
Just the pre-party, okay. But at the same time, I would like really to thank also our audience for attending today's very interesting webinar. As Benedikt already mentioned, we will continue next Tuesday at 9 o'clock. I will send you all the invitation. We'll be more than happy if you can join us, and we hope to see you soon again. And as we always say, technology obliges. Have a wonderful day, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.